Hey guys, this is Stephanie and you are listening to Life After Grief. Hey everyone, thank you for joining me, and thank you to everybody who is watching this now and who will be watching this later. I always say this every episode. I'm always very excited. For one, to be doing this podcast, and two, that you guys are tuning in, whether you're watching it live now or you're going to be watching it later. This episode is titled Anxiety. This is something that a lot of people struggle with. And ever since I experienced my grief, I learned how many people are experiencing grief and anxiety. And it's a staggering amount. It's just ridiculous how, as you get older, life just seems so hard and so difficult, and that you just get crazy. Sometimes you feel like you're crazy. Anxiety just comes upon you and life just feels like a mess. So I wanted to talk today. Now, let me make this disclaimer. Those of you guys who know me know I'm not a doctor. I didn't go get my PhD. I didn't go get any other degree that a doctor needs. So any advice that I give you is strictly just my opinion. I don't want it to ever be said that Stephanie gave you medical advice. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer you just from my personal opinion. Other than that, if you feel like you need more questions answered, please go see a professional mental health specialist. That's not my forte. I just know what I've experienced. Okay, so even though I experience anxiety on a daily basis, I still had to do my research because I know there are different kinds of anxiety that are out there. And so I kind of want to talk about those really, really quickly because in a strange way, it's kind of fascinating how many different technical anxiety disorder names there are out there. So first of all, anxiety, the definition of anxiety is the feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease, typically about an imminent event or something that with an uncertain outcome. Now, whether this could be, when it talks about an imminent event, this could be something that actually could be happening or something that you just kind of made up in your mind. I'm not saying that you're crazy, but dealing with anxiety, a lot of times what I've experienced is that you create the drama yourself. Sometimes you create the events in your mind, or you think about the worst case scenario. I do that. Anybody else do that? And so you focus on that and you just stay with that the entire time. And so that is a part of anxiety. So anxiety disorders are real, serious medical conditions, just as real and serious as a physical disorder such as heart disease or diabetes. Now I'm reading this. I actually have to put the information in the comments or the caption around. So I know a lot of times people say they struggle with an illness. Some people expect for you to say something, I don't know how to put it, something that's not anxiety. Anxiety sometimes is viewed as something made up in your mind or just stress. A lot of people push that aside. It's like, oh, that's not something real. That's not something you should actually struggle with. Excuse me. It's not a medical disease or illness. You can just get over that, when anxiety actually is a disorder. It is something that is medically, that can be wrong with you. It is a fight, so it is real. Anxiety disorders are most common and pervasive mental disorders in the United States. A lot of mental disorders, I feel, just like I said, are often pushed aside as if they're not real. So I'm hoping that as even not after this episode, but as I continue, because I plan on talking about depression and all of that, that these mental illnesses are real and they do exist, and people that are struggling with them, they have to fight themselves every day. Women are nearly twice as likely as men to be diagnosed with an anxiety disorder in their lifetime. I found that very interesting because I know men deal with their own issues, and I actually do, in the future want to start something for men. I'm not a man. I don't know exactly the full scope of everything that men have to go through. So I would love to have that sector where we talk about men's health, but I would love to partner with a guy that would really like to do that and has a passion for that, because I'm not a guy. And while we are all humans, and so we all have, certain common stressors, there are specific stressors that men go through that are different from women. So, but I found that very interesting that women are nearly twice as likely as men to be diagnosed. Now, that doesn't mean that nearly twice as many women have it than men. It's just that women actually go get it checked out. Men oftentimes don't. They don't like going to the doctor. Every male in my life, just like, I'll just tough it out. So it's not to say that women have it more than men. It's just we oftentimes notice things wrong in us, and so we go seek help to fix it. Men being are always looked to being the strong one, the ones that, not take care of everybody else, because normally a woman, but they are the breadwinner usually, or that's the traditional view of it. They have to be the rock, the stabilizers, that kind of thing. So oftentimes they don't get to be vulnerable. They don't get to share feelings if they do have, some to share, because they're told it's weak and they're not supposed to have any. So that's why. So that's kind of what I think that means. So anyway, in the past year, prevalence of any anxiety disorder was higher for females, which is 23.4%, than for males, which is 14.3%. The term anxiety disorder refers to specific psychiatric disorders that involve extreme fear or worry, and includes generalized anxiety disorder, which or also GAD. I'm gonna call it GAD. Panic disorder and panic attacks, agoraphobia, social anxiety disorder, selective mutism, and separation anxiety, and specific phobias. So those are the different anxiety disorders that I found, which really fascinated me, because again, even though I've had anxiety pretty much my entire life, and then when I suffered my grief in my life, not just losing Melody, but other grief in my life, it really agitated it. So it became worse. I had no idea that this disorder existed. So GAD or GAD is characterized by persistent and excessive worry about a number of different things. People with GAD or GAD may anticipate disaster and may be overly concerned about money, health, family, work, or other issues. Now, some of these, maybe you'll apply yourself or think, I kind of have all of these traits. That doesn't mean it's like, oh my gosh, I need to go tell my doctor I have this. Again, go and talk to a professional mental health person, and they can let you know which disorder you have. Don't just listen to Stephania, because Stephania doesn't have her degree. And I do not want anybody saying, but Stephania told me. No, I didn't. I'm just reading off what I found, what I researched. And it's just the same as do not look up your symptoms on WebMD, because anytime you have a cough, it's going to say you're dying. So it's the same thing. Just go seek help. If you really want to understand your anxiety, just go get help. Okay. So then panic disorder. Panic disorder is diagnosed in people who experience spontaneous, seemingly out of the blue panic attacks and are very preoccupied with the fear of another attack. About 2 to 3% of Americans experience panic disorder in a given year, and it is twice as common in women than in men. Panic disorder can infer a lot with daily life, causing people to miss work, go to many doctor visits, and avoid situations where they fear they might experience a panic attack. This is the greatest when people also have agoraphobia as well as panic disorder. And real quick, agoraphobia is the fear of places and situations that may cause panic, helplessness, or embarrassment. So those two kind of go together. So I have experienced a panic attack. So shortly after my miscarriage, I was at work because I didn't take any time off. I miscarried, I believe, was on a Wednesday, and I had it was on a Tuesday, or I found out. And I went to my appointment, found out they couldn't find a heartbeat, then scheduled my D&C that day, and then I had it on a Thursday. And then I rested that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, then I went back to work on Monday. I did that for 2 reasons. So one, how I grieve is I keep moving. I cannot sit still. If I sit still too long, then I'm going to stay in my bed the entire time. And for the most part, during my grief, I did. Sit still and really didn't feel like doing anything. But that first few days, I was like, I have to do something. I can't just sit here. So I went to work that Monday. The second reason was because I couldn't afford to be out of work, which is really sad because if you have experienced that type of loss, you should be able to take some time to, understand what happened to your body, what is going to happen to your body now that you had a being removed from you. Because there was a lot of things that my doctor probably wanted to tell me, but I didn't go back to my follow-up appointment. So I didn't want to be in that place whatsoever. But there's probably a lot of stuff that he could have told me, that he probably would have told me that I was going to experience in the next coming months that I did experience, and I was lost. I was like, what is going on with my body? Going back to work, I had to because I couldn't afford it and I had to keep moving. So anyway, being back at work, it was stressful because I worked in property management. Phone was ringing off the hook. It was getting into our busy season because we went from January, which is like the winter months. And then we were heading into the spring, summer months, because that's usually our busiest time because people are moving and kids are either moving out of their college apartment or some are moving in for the summer school or what have you. So it got stressful. So I remember one day specifically, it was just a hectic day. The phones kept ringing. It was the beginning of the month, so rents were due. So I was putting in all of the rents, scanning them, entering them in, all of that. And one coworker that I was actually relatively close with, she was sitting at my desk and she was filing something, I believe. And all of a sudden, I just got so overwhelmed. My heart rate increased. I just felt really panicked. I started to breathe really, really fast. And I just started crying, like tears just poured down my face. And I was stuck on the fact that my baby's gone. She's gone. What did I do? It's all my fault. If I hadn't done this, if I hadn't done that, she'd still be here. Like all of this stuff. started running